and salutations, it's me, Salty. Welcome back to 2 Cents Toys, and today I'm going over the G.I. Joe Classified Series Duke. This one was gifted to me by a friend. The only reason I'm really going over it is because I plan on customizing him, and I figured I may as well go over it since I have it. I'm not a fan of the redesigns, with Destro and Snake Eyes being the least offensive. I can kind of live with those two. I might tweak them a little bit. And even Duke isn't so bad until you get about here down. Like, I understand this isn't the classic, obviously, as shown in the thumbnail, but some parts of it I can live with, like the green on the shoulders is fine. It's mostly this and all the futuristic techie bits up here that I don't like. Anyway, enough venting. Looking at the box, we get some artwork of Duke over here, G.I. Joe Classified, Duke down here at the bottom, backpack Duke, binos, handgun, long arm. Top of the box lets you know that he's number 4 in the series. Bottom of the box, legalese. Side of the box has artwork continuation from the front. Other side, again, I'm told this is some sort of file card or other. Maybe it pertains to the video game or something, I don't know. And the back is drawn well. You know, I have nice things to say about this line. It's not all complaining. You know, as much as I'd much rather have these as their original character designs, I think this is done very well. You know, I've mentioned the ships before. They didn't even change those, not even a little bit. Like, the Havoc still looks like the Havoc. I'm gonna get them open. We'll go over articulation and the accessories and things I would improve upon. Starting with the binoculars, which aren't, you know, terribly bad. I mean, they're significantly smaller than the 3 3/4 version and more modernized. They're not so bad that I couldn't live with it or anything like that. And they do have a home they peg onto the back of the belt here. And that was about as good as I could get. Trying to get them against his face with the one hand. I guess they'll live on the belt or in a accessory box. I haven't decided yet. Next, we'll talk about the sidearm, which the design in of itself isn't atrocious. It's not that bad. I will be changing the gold on the top to either black or silver, so I can live with this. This one's not so bad. Brings us to this Halo gun, which I know they use laser guns in the cartoon. I got it. I get it. That had to do with TV violence and the like, which to the best of my knowledge, Snow Job was the only G.I. Joe released with that specific laser rifle from the show. And he came out, I want to say, in '86. By and large, most of the G.I. Joes up until that time were released with a contemporary to that time weapon system. Flash, of course, being an exception, or, you know, Grand Slam maybe, but by and large, most of the G.I. Joes had a contemporary weapon. It really wasn't until the late 80s going into the 90s that the sci-fi weapons really became popular, but regardless. This weapon was fine up until you get past the foregrip here, or the broom handle, and then you get that. So I'm probably going to pitch this in the garbage, and I'm going to give him the M4 where I painted the scope red. So he'll probably end up with this. Which brings us to the backpack, which is not bad. I wish there was more color variation. I think it's a nice homage to the original backpack. I won't lie to you about that. On the camera, it looks like it has a lot more like kind of painted details on it, but it's just straight green. But that's probably what I'll end up doing, is giving it a black wash to bring out a lot of these details and kind of paint the pouches different colors. My chief complaint is the same complaint I had with Snake Eyes, is that it doesn't sit flush against his back. It just kind of hovers there. I mean, they figured out how to do it with the Ghostbusters line, how they sit flush against their backs, but I don't know what I'll end up doing with this other than painting it. Which brings me to Duke, and like I said with Destro and Snake Eyes, they're great action figures. Like, in terms of moving around and all the articulation and some of the sculpting that they've done, they're wonderful action figures. They just don't really do it for me when it comes to being a representation of G.I. Joe. For example, I don't mind the gloves so much. I own a pair like this myself. You know, that's a modernization I don't necessarily mind. I don't mind the updated colors on top. I kind of like this look with the green on top as opposed to the green on the inside. Some things I can live with. The belt, if it weren't for this bit of tech right here, I think would be fine. And the bandolier, this should be grenades or something. I'll probably paint over this. So certain parts I'm okay with. I'll probably end up painting the watch either gold or black, because I don't think orange is a good color, but I guess they did that to make it stand out. The elbow pad and the knee pads and the shin guards are where I have the biggest problems. I have not played this mobile game. You know, I understand that's the defense, that it's modeled off, you know, mobile game or whatever. Even if that's the case, I still don't like the design. So I'm going to be swapping out these legs. I already have a figure lined up to do so. I'm probably going to paint over this in dark brown, or I'm going to paint over it somehow in another color. I understand, you know, Destro and Snake Eyes have similar kind of knee pads and elbow pads, but they're painted and they don't stand out. Like Destro's, for example, are painted and the same color kind of as his shirt, so you don't really notice them that well. And Snake Eyes are cast in black on his elbows, and I realize you probably didn't click on this video to hear me bitch and moan about the G.I. Joe designs, but that's mostly what I have to talk about. I'll go over articulation really quick, which is really the defining feature of this line. The articulation is top-notch, I think, because it incorporates a lot of different things, and I kind of wish this form of articulation would carry over into Marvel Legends, for example, but let's go ahead and go over it. Duke can look up that far, look down that far, side to side. Using both the neck and the head, we get a pretty nice range of tilt up here. Shoulder spins 360, comes up to 90. He has butterfly joints up here in the arms, but the mobility is kind of lacking compared to the other ones. It goes back that far and forward that far. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows come up this far. Wrist swivel, and the right wrist hinges in and out, where the left wrist hinges up and down. Utilizing both points of articulation here in the abdomen, he can lean forward that far, lean back that far. We get a little side to side swivel. Kicks forward that far, kicks back that far. If you drop the hip down, you can get him to kick out to a 90. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knees come up that far. Boot swivel. Ankle goes back, forward, and ankle rocker. Now, something I had considered was just trying to peel these off, because they are very rubbery, but you can see that here hidden in the mold is just going to be a kind of a big brown kind of block, more or less, and you're going to have these straps that go to nothing. So, unfortunately, that was out. Something I found interesting were the things that they chose to color versus the things they chose not to. Compared to, say, Snake Eyes, who I understand that this was an exclusive, so maybe they went a little further beyond than they would have with a regular release. But here on the thigh holster, for example, we have 3 different colors. We have a silver buckle, brown strap, and a black holster, where his is just solid green. Primarily made with blacks, browns, silvers, and reds, and he's just kind of all over the place. So, you know, they could have sacrificed the orange on the watch to give us a silver buckle. They could have sacrificed these knee pads altogether to give us painted dots on the pouches. I guess priority is what I'm trying to talk about here. Speaking of comparisons to the rest of the line, this is pretty much all I'm ever going to get is Duke next to Snake Eyes and Destro. Really the only other way that I'll come into ownership with these is like Duke if I'm gifted them. And even then, I'm going to probably chop them up to customize them, trying to improve on them. Or if maybe 5 years from now they actually start doing the original designs, I'll give them my money then. Until such time, it's not going to happen. You know, even my friends tell me, you know, we have to support this line, or they'll never do the original releases, to which I say, no. Like, they should have done the original designs from the jump. They would have gotten my money, then they could have funded these designs. And I initially believed too that we would get the original designs at some point, but they've already announced the second wave and the third wave and a couple of like variants and exclusives, and that doesn't seem to be coming down the pipeline anytime soon. And then with the release of the retro wave solidifies that they're not going to go do O-ring designs for anything. Not that I want these to be O-ring, but I want them to share the characteristics and the design of the O-ring figures, is what I'm saying. If I would recommend Duke or not, from a figure standpoint, they're wonderful figures. The articulation is top-notch, and the posability is there. So as figures, I would recommend them. In my heart of hearts, I can't recommend them as Joe figures. That's just the way that I see it. You know, if you disagree with me, you can tell me down in the comments, and, you know, we'll try to have a civil discussion about it. Anyway, thanks for stopping by today, and until next time, I'm Salty. Signing off.